Hello and welcome to Narayana live session. Students, in today's session we are going to discuss a very interesting topic. And the title of the topic is, does India lack a sporting culture outside cricket? This is the topic. In this article, we'll try to understand the sport culture of our country, the issues in the sports ecosystem of our country, and why is it that the athletes are not seeing sports, or the youngsters are not seeing sports as a viable career option, and what can we do, what possible solution or steps we can take in order to overcome the issues that the sporting ecosystem of our country is facing. And you can map this under GS paper 2 as well as GS paper 3, as well as you can also map this for essay. There can be an essay topic, let's say the impact of sports on society. Such can be an essay topic as well, right? That's the reason understanding this topic is extremely important. Let's go through a previous question. An athlete participates in Olympics for personal triumph and nation's glory. The victors are showered with cash incentives by various agencies on their return. Discuss the merit of state-sponsored talent hunt and its cultivation as against the rationale of a reward mechanism as encouragement. Excellent question. So, given that such question was asked in 2014 and given the importance of sports in our country, which is increasing day by day, a question on sports or the challenges the sports of a country is facing can be asked in the UPSC examination, right? What is the context? So today we are going to discuss about the sporting culture of our country. Now, in light with India's performance at the recently held Olympics in Paris, understanding the sporting culture is extremely important. Now, given India's poor performance at the Olympics, right, this has triggered a broader conversation about the state of sports in our country. Why is it that in a country of 1.4 billion, only cricket is dominating, or cricket is the only popular sport, and most of the youngsters are looking up to cricket, or they take cricket as an option or as a career option? Why is it that they are not focusing on other sports? And this makes us realize the need for a more diversified and robust sporting ecosystem. So, we'll try to understand the systemic issues in the Indian sports, comparison with the international benchmarks, and what all we can do in order to address the challenges that the sporting ecosystem or culture of our country is facing. Talking about the performance of India at the Olympics, we have won 6 medals. Now, if we compare with the developed countries, we fall significantly if you have to compare ourselves with USA or let's say China, who have won medals in 3-digit numbers. And why is it so? Because the sporting culture or sports in these countries is deeply entrenched into their day-to-day life. This is the difference. As sports is deeply entrenched and become a part of their day-to-day life, that's the reason these countries perform exceptionally well in these sports. The US, for example, has a history of over 100 years of sporting excellence. Since 100 years in the sporting competitions held at global level, USA is dominating it. Why? Because of how the sports in those countries are seen and perceived. And talking about India, yes, in the 21st century, starting from the 21st century, Indians have realized the importance of sports, and gradually we have started investing in the sports ecosystem. But to develop a culture, to develop a sporting culture takes time. It's not that you started investing, which means in a matter of few years, you start winning medals. No, it will take time. You need to have patience, you need to sustain your efforts, and then within time or with time, you can see Indians winning more and more number of medals. So let's now try to understand the issues in the sports ecosystem. First is the dominance of cricket. Now, cricket has enjoyed a lion's share in terms of resources, infrastructure, and the other sports are actually struggling for support and visibility. So you see that there is imbalance in the sports ecosystem where cricket is developing but the other sports are not developing at all. So there is this imbalance in these sports of a country. The second is lack of infrastructure. Now the infrastructure, especially at the grassroots level, is inadequate. Many of the major cities, they do not have a proper sports complex or the infrastructure required to train the athletes. Now Khelo India, these programs have tried to plug in the loopholes, but again the reach and impact are still limited to only the players or athletes at the major or the metro cities. Now you see that as there is no infrastructure, let's say for example, there is a young guy living in a village and is exceptionally talented in, let's say, throwing, but there is no infrastructure. No one is there to see his talent. What is his fate? His fate is that tomorrow, as he is not interested in academics, tomorrow he might be a rickshaw driver, let's say bus driver, or he might work in his agriculture field. This is his fate. But if someone sees his talent, nurtures his talent, he can be a javelin player who can compete at the national level. So having sporting infrastructure is extremely important. The third is systemic issues and governance. Now the administration, the sports administration of a country is plagued or affected because of inefficiency, lack of professionalism and poor management. Now let me give an example of Indian hockey. Indian hockey in the 60s and 70s was dominating the entire world. Majority of the medals that we used to win was in hockey or was through hockey. That was how hockey was dominating in the entire world. But we did not change with time. We did not adopt new practices or modern practices. We were following the same outdated practice or outdated method. That's the reason hockey suffered. Today, no one watches hockey matches at all. Now, given that Indian hockey team has won bronze, hopefully the attention and focus towards hockey would improve or would see a change. Now, when the facilities are available, they are not accessible to the young athletes at the formative stages. Now, providing training at the formative age, that is very early in your career, is very important. So if you see the athletes in, let's say, China or USA, they start training at the age of 4, 5, 6, 7, which means years of training, years of competitions will help them to fetch medals at the highest level. That's the reason making sure that the youngsters are getting training at the formative age is extremely important, because it's not that you are providing training to an athlete for a year or two and you expect him to win a medal. No, it takes years. That's the reason tapping the potential, tapping the talent at a young age and nurturing it is extremely important. The next is financial insecurity for athletes. Now, the athletes in our country, they face financial insecurity before and after their careers. So they do not have any financial security. It's not like cricket, wherein you play one IPL season and you earn crores of rupees. No. For them, they face this big financial insecurity issue. And that's the reason most of the players, they see sports as a means to get government job. So if you again represent at the district or let's say national level, you are ensured a government job. Now because of this, because of insecurity, these players are seeing sports not as a means to win medals or do something exceptional for the country, but to get a government job. Which means they are not seeing sports as a viable career option. The next is lack of sporting culture. As I told you, in countries like USA, Japan, China, or European countries, sports is deeply entrenched into their culture. We do not have a culture where sport is promoted or respected. Sports is seen as mere entertainment, is not seen as option. So we have to develop that career wherein the players, or let's say the youngsters, see sports as a viable career option, as well as they see sports as something that will help in their personal development as well as the societal well-being. These are some of the issues in our sports ecosystem. Now let us focus on the solution. First, you have to diversify beyond cricket. Focus on other sports. With the help of media, school programs and community engagement, make sure the other sports are also highlighted and focused so that youngsters feel attracted or get attracted towards other sports as well. The second one is enhancing infrastructure and grassroots programs. Make sure at the rural level you establish or you have the infrastructure so that the talent of the people can be noticed, nurtured, and these people can play or represent for our country. So Khelo India program should be expanded even at the rural level. Then there should be an emphasis on developing a scientific approach to training and recovery. Now I have been a sports player. Sports is not only about playing. As a player, you tend to get injured. Now when you get injured, equally it is important that you recover as fast as possible. So training in terms of fitness, how you train, scientific method is extremely important. You cannot resort or follow the same traditional method. No, you have to upgrade yourself. You have to understand the modern means. You have to understand the scientific approach so that you get or you recover as soon as possible. Reforming sports governance, professionalizing sports management and administration is extremely important. What do you mean by professionalizing sports management? Which means the selection process, the selection of players has to be transparent and accountable. You hire qualified coaches and support staff. At the same time, the sport bodies like let's say BCCI should run effectively. Then you have to bring in expertise from the successful countries like South Korea, Japan, China, USA, Canada. Then providing financial security and career support, for example, insurance, pensions, career transition. Such financial support by the government will encourage more and more young people to see sports as a career option. And sports is not only about playing the sport. Sports, it's an entire ecosystem, which means the coaching staff, counseling, training, physiotherapy. There are so many things involved in a sport. So you can be a part of coaching, sports management, and various other things associated with one particular sport. And then you have to develop a culture. Now developing a culture is very, very important. For that, the government has to play a big role. The government has to make people believe that it's not only academics which should be seen as an option where you can come out of poverty. No. To this date, majority of the Indians see academics as an option to come out of poverty. Now it is the task of the government to ensure that they create a culture where sport is respected, where sport is taken seriously as academics. Then talking about community engagement, at the local level, the community should respect sports, should encourage young people to participate in sports. The culture of sports also enhances or strengthens the bond between people. So developing that culture and ensuring that sports is integrated into the education system is extremely important. So students, by adopting a multifaceted approach wherein you are focusing on developing a culture, the government of India focuses on initiating programs like the Khelo India, so that a holistic system be developed, so that more and more young people are drawn into sports, different types of sports beyond cricket. For that, fostering or developing a culture is extremely important. So by providing the right approach, right infrastructure, right policy, we can ensure that in few years India will be among the top nations in the sports. And hopefully in the coming few years, India win as many medals as possible, so that this encourages, inspires other young people to take up sports as a career option. I hope, students, you have understood each and every dimension associated with the sports ecosystem or sports culture of our country. So, students, if you want us to continue with our live session, then please do like, share and support Narayana IAS. Thank you so much.